What's up, gamers? We are back with some modern action, and this time we've got a new deck to show off on the channel. No, it's not Dimir Murktide. That's been on the channel for quite a bit, but it's this Opps All Bugs deck. It's popped up here and there. People have been playing it, RCQs, and some lists have been kind of running around. It's a weird deck, so we're going to see how well it does. It has been performing well in some cases, but it is a risky deck to be using because you have no lands. All right, all of your lands are the MDFCs, so they hurt you quite a bit. But we got an early Thoughtseize to reveal that we are fighting against a Murktide player, and so now we can kind of decide and see how things go. We got no extra life pads, so we're doing our best to try to keep track of the life pads here. But it's a weekend of commentary for us because we just finished up doing a bunch of Stormgate action over there. So if you guys have missed or wanted to see more RTS stuff, we of course have our secondary YouTube channel. You guys can check that out. It's youtube.com/NanMan to see some RTS stuff over there. But over here on our Magic channel, we're going strong, continuing up with our twice a week modern coverage. We got an attempt to play an insect here, a bug, our brain maggot, but that's met with a spell snare, which is perfectly fine. Like, our goal is to strip something. Like, if we have it out, that's also good because we want to use it with grists and stuff like that. But stripping a card, getting information on what our opponent has in their hand with the Thoughtseize is helpful. But first Psychic Frog is here. The Dimir Murktide list is very high synergy right now, very consistent in what it does. It's rising up a lot more in the meta just because of how good the cards work together. Basically, the number one decks in modern right now are the energy decks, and then right behind it is the Dimir Murktide list that's kind of running around being able to kind of be the powerhouse consistent blue deck. Now there's of course other decks that you can play if you want to play in blue and things like that, like Control and things like that. But there's Dimir Murktide is definitely up there as a higher meta choice for a lot of players, just because Murktide's really good. We're throwing cards in our graveyard to power up our Frog. Frog is just like consistent drawing effects. It works out well. Plus the synergy of exiling cards from our graveyard to give the Frog flying. So this is a nice little way. Let's push for some damage. We'll get rid of the Preordain. We're going to dump it so we can be able to cast this Murktide here. That's a big part of it. But swing for damage, actually going to get met with an Abrupt Decay, which you go, what year is it? I haven't seen Abrupt Decay in so long. But it actually, surprisingly good in a meta with so much blue. When we think of Dimir Murktide, we think of Jeskai Control. Having that is really helpful there. So, but a Murktide is now out, and we've got a Grist to respond to this. Let's make an insect. Now, again, with the Opps All Bugs adventure that we've got going on, there is the chance that you could be able to mill more than just one bug off of this and be able to create more tokens and do things like that. It's not going to be the case this time around, though. All right, let's start to set up here. Got some Preordains. It's the crazy new Secret Lair islands, by the way. The Brain Rot ones. I don't know if you all are into the Secret Lair stuff or how you deck out your decks. What do you do? Like, do you go for the Secret Lairs? Do you go for foils? You guys have seen my signed Infect deck that I like. Otherwise, what way do you like to spice up or make your deck a little bit unique? Just trying to confirm like what the ultimate is on Grist and why it might be a problem. And we'll kill that one Grist. The deck very much relies on Grist to function and work, but there's a couple other cards that we care about here, like this right here. The Recross the Paths. If you guys remember, we had a Charbelcher deck featured on the channel a little bit ago. It's like, basically lets you set up your hand. And set up your deck, but that's met with a Force of Negation there, so we don't have to worry about that. But if you have that and you've got a Grist there, you basically can just mill your whole library, or not your whole library, but a lot of it, right? You get to just dump as much as possible. You basically get to set up your deck so your Grist swarms with a bunch of insects, and then you get to attempt to ultimate him soon and go that, or just kill someone off with a bunch of insects, right? So that's the goal, that's the plan. But you can disrupt the across the path. You can kind of disrupt the deck a bit more. But we've got, here's another Grist, and that spell snare in hand is not going to be effective. So we'll sacrifice this one insect to shoot down the Murktide. There's a Toxic Deluge also still revealed. Could be useful for getting rid of some spells and stuff, but the other thing is, like, the Opps All Bugs is dangerous with its life total. You know, it's very easy to be able to kind of build up a board state by just sitting here and playing your MDFCs, you know, taking 3 damage each time. Dotsie's coming out here. Consigned to Memory, Toxic Deluge are the two. So we take Consign. Countering activated ability activate be annoying. Or countering. We don't care about the colorless spell, but the countering activated ability is where we care a little bit more. Or triggered ability, sorry. Counter target triggered ability. Triggered ability is something like entering the battlefield causes a trigger, things like that. Surveil, we see a Preordain left on top, so we're going to keep that there, immediately cast it. Scry 2, draw a card. We're basically looking for a threat here, and Fatal Push and Dark Slick Shores will not get us there, so let's put them both on the bottom and try to dig for something else. I mean, opponents at 1, we just need to draw into a Bowmaster and be in a better spot. Land tapped. Just continuing up, making insects. Debating about the Toxic, but changed our mind there. Looks like we have another Murktide, so I think that was the reasoning behind, like, if we Toxic now, it starts to fill up our graveyard, but yeah, we don't necessarily have to. Taking 2, and we're going to keep getting chipped away here. Another Brain Maggot. Met with a Spell Snare. I mean, that's fine. We don't get to see what else is in our opponent's hand. We strip a card. Now it's in our graveyard. Another Preordain coming out. Another setup here. Again, we talked about decking out and making your deck look cool. Oh, the One Ring. That'll be nice. One Ring and a Fatal Push here. I mean, I feel like they're both fine. Like, yeah, next turn we want the One Ring so we can kind of, like, stop ourselves. We're at 11, so it's not like it's that crazy. Just confirming with our little Brain Maggot here that we don't have to worry so much of other effects. It's just like a ETB reveal type effect. So we do keep both on top. Fatal Push gets drawn. And now it's like, all right, we can take 2 damage. Grist is going to keep getting bigger and bigger. We don't have a way to really stop him at this point. At least not yet. Like, because we want to get our Murktide to be able to stick. I mean, I guess we could have just been like, all right, commit everything, play the Murktide. But by delaying, having the Fatal Push and stuff like that, the Murktide will get bigger, and, you know, that'll be nice. So let's do this. Fatal Push on one of the bugs. One Ring. Let's get protection until our next turn. Let's draw some cards. Now, Grist is each opponent loses life equal. So it's not targeting. So the One Ring's protection doesn't actually work to, like, stop it. Because we're not targeting. It's just a effect to get around it. So Grist, of course, is -5 for loyalty-wise. And there's currently 6 cards, I believe he said, in Graveyard. So this is one of those, if you didn't have the One Ring, we could, like, kill him here, right? Put him to 3, swing with the 3 insects, and we're okay. But, you know, the One Ring definitely stops everything. I think we just, confirm the count that there are 6. Throw this, so we're going to play another Grist, which when it's in the graveyard counts as, or when it's not on the battlefield, it counts as a 1/1 insect. So by doing that, it ups our count to 7. We'll get to sit here and pop this up. We've got One Ring puts our opponent to 1, and now you're left of trying to piece together a win here. So we're going to draw 2 cards here. We've got 3 and up there. Okay, that that was crazy. We got down to 1 health each. Like that, like something like that makes me think and go, okay, where did we miss 1 point of damage? There had to have been 1 point of damage somewhere that we missed to kind of put ourselves in that spot. But both players got to 1 there, so really close. Could have gone either way, but the Bowmaster off the top helping us out. Something that the Opps All Bug does can run. We've seen variations of it that run like a 2 of or something like that, but we didn't see that in this case. We've got another aggressive mulligan. Last time the Opps All Bugs had to mull to 5. This time we also mulled to 5. And I think that's part of it is of like, because it's just all bugs, right? You want to be able to have very specific cards to try to help yourself out. But it's also dangerous knowing that you're fighting against counter spells. So like normally you'd have a little bit more wiggle room for things like the recross the pass or things like that. But we got a Brain Maggot trying to come out, but it's going to get met with a consigned to memory to counter the ability of it entering the battlefield. No more triggered. You cannot look at the rest of my hand. I will not let you. But having that insect out there is always, you know, useful. It's a 1/1. Swing for damage with it. Use it to block a frog or something like that. Speaking of which, there's our first Psychic Frog coming out. This card is amazing. Works very well in the right shell. We've seen it in like discard-based strategies with like Reanimators or Goryo's Vengeance, things like that. But also just in the Dimir Murktide. So we'll just shoot that using the Grist's ability, the -2, sack a creature, destroy target creature or planeswalker. So it cleans up. Now the Dimir Murktide is light on threats when you think about a deck, right? It's got the Murktides, it's got access to the frogs, it's got access to Bowmasters, but that's really about it. Inquisition's going to come. And just pass turn. Insect in. We're going on that self-mill route. Throw some cards in our graveyard. If it's an insect, we get a repeat. Fatal Push. Let's just kind of make sure you have no fuel to destroy my creatures. That's basically what that is. Murktide. Nice. And that's the thing, like the Opps All Bugs, yes, you have like some things to help you fight against the deck, but like for the most part, it's not at 3 mana. Like you could do Fell the Profane or something like that, but there's not as much to deal with a Murktide once it's out. Murktide's currently a 6/6. Defense grid's not bad. Basically, kind of mess with your opponent a little bit here. Can't really counter your stuff. Stops them from fatal pushing your things. Like, it's not bad, but Grist's going to get cleaned up. We don't want that. Literally no more grist at all. We're 100% cleaning this guy up. Go through even the deck, hand, graveyard. We're stripping them all and exiling them. You can see up at the top of it, the library right there, that Huskbuster Swarm. That's kind of another reason why this Opps All Bugs list has come out. It's a 6/6. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature card you own in exile and in your graveyard. It's a 6/6 Menace Death Touch. Costs 8 mana, 7 and a black. Think of it like our Gurmag Angler back in the day. This is a way to be able to cheat Gurmag Angler out. And a Menace Death Toucher is pretty scary. There we go. Found the last missing grist. That's what we were looking for. Where is it? It's still in there. We got it. Said, hey, make sure you shuffle, because I just looked through it all. You then get to shuffle, and then I got to cut. So, getting it all figured out. I mean, losing the grist makes this even harder. We got to get some Huskbuster Swarms out there. All right, big clock coming from this Murktide. Do a little surveil fetching up here. Get a little bit more information, and worst case, we throw something in the graveyard that we could then use for pumping Murktide later. Bam, 6 damage. The One Ring, that I've been seeing a couple of Dimir Murktide lists without the One Ring, and now we're starting to see some with. I mean, we're at this point where you should be running the One Ring if you have it. It's so good. We've got a counter spell. We've got a Psychic Frog. Opponent's at 8. They're talking about life totals here. I might have gotten life totals wrong. Who knows? Let's see if y'all were paying attention. You can tell me if I got the life totals wrong. Let's roll 2 more. Island. He says, I've got it. Here's this Psychic Frog. I can exile 3 cards from my graveyard and put some additional counters on top of this Murktide. Swing for 8 exactly. So very cool. Just like pretty straightforward. We didn't get to see as much about the Opps All Bugs here, but we do have a couple more games in the queue for you guys to see this in action. If this is something you're interested in, it's pretty cool. Also, here's the Secret Lair Brain Rot or Brain Dead Island. There's a swamp in here too. We're going to be able to see. I love seeing cool different lands, like basic lands and stuff like that. So I think it's sweet that there are so many different varieties of lands for people to get into and enjoy. But mulling to 5 in this game was a big struggle for a deck that's, super high synergy, almost combo-y with its, across the path styles there. But we see a little bit of unlicensed Hearst, these specific cards to try to fight graveyard stuff. So Surgical's coming in, and what was the other card we brought in here? Oh, okay. Spell Pierce it seems really good too when you know your opponent's, as soon as they get to 3 mana, they're gonna try to cast a Recross the Path, a Grist. Like that's their game plan with the deck. So Harbinger of the Seas is a pretty good card, especially in this matchup. You just get them. So, but yeah, we're gonna be showing off a little bit more of Dimir Murktide, a little bit more of Opps All Bugs. We've also got some Hardened Scales coming up here, some creativity, maybe some Is It Wizards, lots of cool decks coming up soon, but that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys on Thursday for some more modern gameplay action.